The APO4s increase the likelihood of more of that precursor protein. Now, just because you have an APO4 doesn't mean you're automatically going to get Alzheimer's. Okay, it's not a great gene marker to have, but there needs to be a trigger. And that's what I'm going to move forward with. I just want to set you up at this point in knowing that if you have this gene marker and why it's called the Alzheimer gene, that it just doesn't function as well as the others. And in this case, it actually encourages an accumulation of a protein called an amyloid precursor protein that is associated with more scarring in the brain, because those proteins are what encourage the amyloid beta production, right? The plaques. So before I get too much on a tangent, I'm going back to the brain, because after all, that's what this video is about. So with insulin resistance in the brain, the insulin is not allowing certain brain cells that need the sugar to get access to the sugar. So certain brain cells are not needing the sugar that they desperately want. And to make matters worse, as these excess fatty acids differentiate, because they do in the brain, into a fat called a ceramide, these fats become more prevalent if you're an APO4. Because these little gene guys, they don't do well clearing fats from the brain. And so what can happen is they become more prone to insulin resistance. Not only that, these APO4s don't clear a lot of fats from the brain as well as the other variants. They also contribute to the clogging of the insulin receptor site. And that's a real downer, because if you have insulin resistance and you have the APO4, we need to get rid of insulin resistance, period. So in the case of sugar, everybody talks about, oh, too much sugar for the brain is bad. I'm going to agree. Too much sugar in the bloodstream is not good. But to get rid of it, we have a difference of opinion. As a registered dietitian, I'm looking at the science behind the macronutrients. I'm not really sure what everybody else is looking at, but I can tell you they're giving you a very short-sighted picture, because immediately they start talking about sugar and insulin. And I'm agreeing, don't like to have a lot of that in the blood, but we have to agree that's not the root cause. When you are not getting sugar in the brain cells, in cells that need it, then the sugar can actually go through the blood-brain barrier and affect other cells that don't need it. So this is getting a little sciencey, and I want to just take it one step at a time, because I know it's a lot of information. So I'm going to come back to that. But I want to really drive home the point that type 3 diabetes, okay, is Alzheimer's. And if you typed in your browser, type 3 diabetes, and on my screen, if you're listening to me and you're not seeing it, on my screen, I showed a browser where I typed in type 3 diabetes, which you can do yourself. And of course, AI now comes up with an explanation of everything. But if you look to the right of my little PowerPoint, you will see right there, Alzheimer's disease is a type 3 diabetes and Alzheimer's disease. So all over the internet, if you type in the right thing and you use some of the things that I'm telling you to use to put in your browser, you're going to be able to fact check me. So what is type 3 diabetes? Type 3 diabetes is exactly what I'm showing you here, insulin resistance in the brain. And if you're an APO4, it's even worse, because you'll be more apt to have insulin resistance in the brain than if you weren't an APO.